welcome back to Brashenomics. We're lucky enough to have Chase and Jeff Costello joining us with the Costello team at Coldwell Banker Bain. Guys, welcome back. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us back. We appreciate it.
Pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You got kids?
I do. I've got 3 of them.
And a dog?
And we have a dog. So our kids are young enough that the video game hasn't really come into play, but I can definitely foresee it happening.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, a 2-year-old can work an iPad better, I think, than most adults, so it's pretty incredible. You guys really focus on helping educate people to what's going on so they don't get screwed by things maybe they can't control. Like, I still think the dog got screwed by the video game. It's kind of like the video killed the radio star, but, in a different way. Tell me a little bit about, maybe how you guys keep people from getting hurt by, I guess, really factors they can't control in the real estate market.
Well, one of the things that we can't do is we can't control those factors unless we get an opportunity to talk to those people out there. I think the best thing we can do is inform them, give them as much knowledge, because knowledge is power, and inform them and educate them on what to expect, what to look for, and display what we offer.
Because there's this changing landscape that goes on pretty much all the time, although it seems to have just been this low inventory conversation for the last 2 or 3 months, even 6 months. But typically the conversation is changing pretty rapidly in the real estate industry. I mean, that's something you guys have to bring to the table, I would imagine, pretty consistently. And what are you bringing to the table, I guess, right now? What are you telling people when they're maybe looking to purchase a house right now in this market?
Well, that's a great question. So if someone's looking at purchasing a house and they've chosen the realtor that they want to work with, it's educating them on how the process works. And obviously on this show, you've probably talked quite a bit about inventory. Now I think we're at the phase of the game where buyers today know about the shortage of inventory, and it's just getting them to act and respond a little bit quicker than maybe 18 months ago where they could sit on the fence and decide. Mm-hmm. So again, I would say it has most to do with just educating them and letting them know we have to be a little bit quicker to the draw, make sure that you've got your financing in place, and make quick decisions. Now, it's tough to make a quick decision, especially like if it's a first-time home buyer, and there's already an emotional aspect to it where they're having a hard time pulling the trigger. Sometimes it takes them losing a few offers before they realize we've got to move a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm. Is the slower decision where they have more time, maybe choosing the professionals they want to work with so that they feel more comfortable diving in when it's time?
I think most people don't even know what to look for, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, or even if they're a current homeowner looking, because most likely the statistic is that if there's a 15% go through. If I get in the business today, there's a 15% chance in 5 years I'll still be in the business. So a lot of agents are no longer in the business if somebody has purchased a home.
Only 15%?
15%. Yep.
Higher chance than my dog getting out for a walk with my kid, but it's pretty good.
Exactly. So when we meet a buyer or a seller, and there's 2 different mindsets. For buyers, it's the purchase is more emotional, where for a seller, it's more analytical. So you've got to really kind of hone in on who are you working with? Are you working with the buyer or are you working with the seller? Because you have 2 different approaches. And I always suggest to the people that I'm working with, interview people. Talk to others if you haven't. And that's almost a cardinal sin for a real estate agent, because somebody behind you might be better or worse.
Not in your case, of course, right?
Never.
Chase and Jeff Costello join us with the Costello team at Coldwell Banker Bain. Guys, so how do you interview a real estate agent? Because it's very easy for people to go online and look at houses, whether it's on Zillow or your website or any of the numerous websites that are out there that are really the purveyors of what houses are out there. And most people are shopping for a house, not shopping for a real estate agent. The real estate agent is almost I don't want to say the necessary evil, but it's somebody you're going to need in order to buy a house, where the house is really the end game. How should somebody really interview a real estate agent?
So if you're on there's 2 different sides to it. So if you're on the seller side and you're looking at selling your home, we have a series of questions that, we like to ask the home seller. What are you looking for your home? What are you looking for in your next home? And a lot of times, sellers don't necessarily have a questionnaire that they ask realtors. Most cases, what we find out, it's, oh, we want to list our home with our neighbor. And we ask them questions like, well, who's your neighbor and how many houses did your neighbor sell?
Right.
Is your neighbor a full-time agent? Do they work on a team? And, you really want to dive into these questions because buying and selling a house is a very large asset, and people don't look at it like that when they're choosing, a realtor.
Mm-hmm. So do you tend to think that, I guess what goes into it then? Is it just the team aspect? Is it just the experience? What other questions should they be asking? Because I would imagine it goes a little deeper than how long and where they live. Do you know the neighborhood? I know you lived here for 9 years.
That's one question we always get is, are you a specialist in this neighborhood? And it's almost impossible to be a specialist in a specific neighborhood. So when I broach that question, what I say is I'm a specialist in getting the deal done. To answer that question, as far as where Chase was going, is ask the realtor or whoever you're interviewing. Show us some proof. What kind of reviews or references can you get? Can I find you online? What am I going to find when I find you online? Many buyers and sellers use people that they know rather than people that they should know. I can't tell you how many times I've picked up a buyer who's worked with somebody who was a friend who maybe does it part-time or has sold 1 or 2 homes a year.
Ben, I'll give you an example. We had a client last summer who was looking at selling their house, and it was, over $1 million. And he was already set on the agent that he wanted to use. And I asked him who the agent was, and he told me who the agent was. But he was dead set on using this agent. So, when you have the MLS at your fingertips, you have access to look at other agents' productivity and what they've done. And I showed this client of mine and says, the agent that you've chose has sold 3 houses in the last 2 years and nothing over $1 million. And he was flabbergasted because he was convinced that his friend had sold multiple $1 million homes. Now, luckily for me,
I've never heard of any real estate agent or mortgage lender or anybody like that embellishing the work that they have done in the past. That is truly amazing.
So in the end result, I was able to show him our success compared to their success, and it was, luckily for us, we ended up winning that victory. But if we didn't do that research, the agent, or I'm sorry,
he would have sold his first $1 million house.
Yeah, he would have sold his first $1 million house.
Actually, in fact, the guy that agent had given them a market analysis, which was under $1 million. And when we sold it for $300,000 more than what that agent had proposed.
So is there some elements of making sure your real estate agent is productive rather than busy?
Well, definitely. You want them to be productive and busy. But if you work on a team, I think you can delegate different responsibilities to different people. And it's important when interviewing is asking questions. Do you have an assistant? Do you have a team? Who covers you when you're away? Do I have somebody else besides you that I can contact? Because in our business, we're constantly being pulled in different directions. So I do believe that, it's definitely important.
What are some other red flags? Outside of maybe somebody who doesn't do the deals that you think they do.
Well, ask for references. Zillow, you had brought up earlier, is a great place to do a research on brokers because they give you an option of having reviews. And an agent that has 0 reviews means that there's 0 clients out there that is willing to step up for him and say, hey, this guy did a good job for me. Or the agent doesn't have the courage enough to ask their clients, hey, will you give me a review? So that would be one red flag. Second is through the questions or the interview process. Do they do this full time? You'd be surprised how many agents, especially as the market's getting better, more people are entering the market that are going to do this as a part-time job to see if they like it. Mm-hmm. And, because they've got friends, and those friends might have friends that are going to sell houses or want to buy a house,
sure,
they may get that assignment just because they're a friend of a friend.
One thing that I always ask if someone's selling their house is to find out, the percentage of list price to sale price. And the reason I say that is because, someone can come in and just give you an arbitrary number just because you're going to choose them because it's the highest number. And that's what they consider buying the listing in our business. But if you can show them, my statistics of the list price of homes that I've sold and the sales price of homes that I've sold, and if it's, above 80%, then you know that they're pretty spot on. Now, Jeff and I, we averaged about 98% from list price to sale price, which is pretty high, meaning that we're not going out and overpricing homes just to get someone to list with us.
Sure.
And we'll lose a listing from time to time because we're not high enough.
Because you're not their neighbor and you guys aren't close enough friends with them, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. That is Chase and Jeff Costello with the Costello team at Coldwell Banker. When we come back, we have a special guest for you to talk all about condos. Lots of things you probably don't know about. All the buildings you drive by just about every day. Paul Grusha will join us next. We'll be right back.